A few moments later. Yeah, boy.
Yes, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, Tankers of Blitz Universe, to the channel. How are you all doing? Having a good weekend? Please tell me below in the comments, what was your first line that you started to grind? What was the line that you picked when you started World of Tanks Blitz? Why did you choose that line? Was it because it was an iconic tank in World War II? Was it a line that you played earlier in World of Tanks console or on WOT PC, or I don't know, where you made a little bit of a skill model out of it, childhood memories, and you're thinking, I have to have the tank in the game, I'm gonna grind that line. Please tell me below why you chose a certain line, and if it was a good one or not. Would you recommend getting that line? Would you recommend the line you started the game with to new players? And obviously I have made an earlier video about the game, about the best line, in my opinion, currently for beginners, and that is the German E100 line. Why is that? Because of the very much overbuffed VK36ONH and the Tiger 2. Those are really solid tanks. But the line that I chose first was not that line. I decided to go with the American tanks for a few reasons. Reason one being America, obviously, American muscle power, and Cromwell B stands for Cromwell Burn, and because I was well and truly into skill modeling back then, really keen on making tanks from the ETO, from the Allied forces, from the American forces, and I just wanted to have the M4 E3 E8, the Easy 8. That's the tank I wanted to get. So I decided to go for the T125 line and the M48 pattern line, and I actually think I got the pattern a bit earlier than the E5 because I was more of a medium tanks player, but that did not mean that the E5 line was a bad one. And we're looking at noob removal algorithm here, who is driving the M6, the Battle Bus, and he's having an epic game, as you can see. This game makes you go oof! And so does the T37. That one's going to go down, and they're going to double tap this Jackson over here. But yes, this is a big mega ball, like monstrous proportions, as you can see. And I told him, because he dropped it on Discord, I asked him, do you recommend this tank? Is it as OP as the T1 Heavy, which I have covered before? Obviously, take a look on the channel, link in the top right corner. Well, worth checking out. He said, yeah, the T1, that one is OP. This one, not so much. Yes, the gun is good. Yes, you have a strong turret with some frontal armor. The front has been reinforced, but the sides, they are mostly made of, and I quote, cardboard reinforced aluminium foil. That might be a bit too much, really, but yeah, the hull itself didn't change a lot coming from the T1 Heavy, and you can see it has a really large profile, and it doesn't have that monster frontal armor of the Exp at tier 8, but still a good tank. And just look at that, 4,454 damage dealt. If you then come from the M6, you go towards this tank, the T29, and the T29 is a really good tank, because this is one of the best tanks in the game to teach you hull down tactics, to teach you how to use gun depression. And I've decided to add this a little bit into the video first as well, even though there's not a lot happening in Terminator 3077's gameplay so far. It's like nearly a minute total of driving forward before he managed to get his first damaging shot into the game. But what he's going to do here is going to show us how you should play this tank. This is the area where a T29 feels best at home. Having little ridges, having little undulations in the terrain, having little spots where you can hide that rather long hull, because just look at it. I mean, the hull is really long. It is really long. But the turret is to die for. And this tank has been buffed recently, like the KV-3 has been buffed, like the ISF has been buffed, like the Tiger 2 has been buffed. And that means that it is now really solid, even on the hull. The hull front was the weak spot, the lower plate even more so, but even that front plate was a bit of a weak spot. That one has been buffed, so you can be a bit less careful with your hull down, with your gun depression. You do not need to sit around being really careful about not showing that front of your hull, basically. That doesn't mean that the tank is impervious, but as one of those famous Lord of the Rings memes says, one does not simply penetrate a hull down T29. 9, that's not the case, even if they have a pumpkin on top, which does sit at a weak spot. There is a bit of a weak spot on the top of the turret. This tank is a really solid performer, and enter hull down tactics, enter a 1 versus 4, 1828 damage dealt. Terminator has to do a Resenia's medal now, and he's constantly maneuvering around. The T29 is not the most mobile tank of them all. I mean, it goes around well enough, it has decent mobility, but the pickup speed is not brilliant. The terrain resistance is not epic, and that's a really useful APCR shot on front of a KV-1S, and this tank might be even better with the frontal armor, the Black Prince, but the Black Prince hits at 160 average alpha per shot. But a fully upgraded T29 gets a gun which does 310 average per shot with AP, so that is a bit better. And if you can get it at a position like this, where you can trade, look at that, 160 block, 303 damage dealt. He's in a bit of a sticky situation, however, because that is a KV-2 who wants to weigh in as well. That's the Black Prince now shooting APCI. He overextended, he showed his drive wheel, but luckily RG is on his side, so the KV-2 is burning and then missing. He does not have the derp gun, and he blows up. And then he can shoot the Black Prince for 7 kills in the T29. Brilliant tank. Great tank. This was one of the heavies that was able to hold its own in the +2, -2 matchmaking as well. And that then leads on towards the T32. And yes, that's pretty much the same tank, as you can see, albeit with a lengthened hull. I think it gets another road wheel. It has a smaller turret with a monstrous gun mantlet, really monstrous. The gun mantlet on that tank is so darn thick. The hull is still, as said, pretty much the same, so you will not bounce a lot of shots if you are not hull down or face-hugging tanks. So that third shot from the Pantera hit on the gun mantlet. But yeah, through the hull of the T32, tanks will just chew through. No problems whatsoever, no questions asked. They do not even need to swap out the APCR or the heat shells. And why is that? Well, you have as said, a really thick gun mantlet. That's 298 of space armor on the mantlet alone. On your turret front you have 298 as well, so that's 600 mils of armor to punch through. The cheeks are quote-unquote weak spots, but that's a weak spot at 197 nominal thickness, and because it's angled back, you're looking at 363. But the front plate is 127 only. So if you're sitting on flat ground, it goes up to about 200 mils. 200 mils effective. That's nothing. And if they are able to shoot you between the turret and the front plate, they're shooting at the driver's hatches. It is going to be 76 mils only, 51 mils. That's nothing. You have to be hull down in this tank, and you have to keep your gun in between your drive wheels, otherwise you will be toast. And as you can see, it's a lengthy tank, but it's also a fairly low to the ground tank. So, provided you've been taking your time at the T29 in playing that tank and not just rush through it because it's a tier 7, etc. I want to go to tier 10, it's quick, yada yada. If you've taken the time to play the T29, then basically all the spots on the map which worked for you are going to work for the T32 too. Because it's basically the same tank with a slightly smaller turret and one added road wheel. And that's a good thing. The tank plays the same. The tank plays similarly. But what's also the same is the fact that you do not get a gun upgrade. This tank starts out stock with the same 90mm gun that the T29 gets. And I earlier said that the T29 has a 90mm gun as top gun, but it's actually a 105, the 105 T5E1. You have the same gun. And that means that you're plunking away at your opponents at 310 alpha per shot. And you also have the same penetration values because it is the same gun. 198 on AP, 245 on APCR, which is good. But yeah, I would not go for a rammer because your DPM, it is the middle of the pack when you're looking at tier 8 heavies already. When you are in a tier 9 battle, it is number 82 out of 110. That's just not good. You can't really afford to waste a shot, so go for the calibrated shells. If you go for calibrated shells, you're getting it up to 208 in terms of pen on AP and 257 in terms of APCR, which is still not epic. It's not Russian heat numbers which just punch through anything, but it's at least it's a lot better than it was stock. But this tank is not as flexible as a T29 because it is one tier high. It's not as flexible as the current Tiger II because that one, just look at this. This is APCR from the perspective of a T32 on a Tiger II. It just doesn't punch through, and if tanks are looking or at your ass, then you will be in trouble. But luckily you are a low to the ground tank and you have a turret, which means you can set up just a bit better than a SU-122-44 can. And then if an IS-3 then goes forward, stops in the cap and then is thinking I'm going to go forward now, then he will get shot through the lower plate because he does not have the gun of pressure that you have. Miracle! And then you're nearly up to 5 kills. And then the Tiger II comes screaming around the corner, ta-ta, pop goes the turret, and Panzer Division Blitzkrieg gets a 5-kill mastery on Canyon and loses credits because he did not run a premium account. How about that? Righty, well then looking at Walter White, who's in the M103. And that's a tier 9 tank. And take a look at his tank, and mostly the gun. He is using the not fully upgraded M103. And I can see that from the fact that there is a muzzle brake on the front of the gun. The M103 starts off with the same 105mm gun that the T29 and the T32 get, so that is again the T5E1, and the T5E1 has the same pulse rate, 198 in terms of penetration and 245. I'd recommend you to stock up on free XP to get the first 120mm gun on this tank, because that will push your penetration up to 242 on your AP, and you get heat, which gives you 340 in terms of penetration. Do get some free XP lying about to have a instant gun upgrade. I'm not quite sure how much XP you need for it, but you'll be able to see that in the garage itself. And all the trades that you've been learning with the T29, with the T32, they all apply here as well, because this is a big-headed heavy, as you can see. It is a really tall tank. It has monstrous sight on the turret, and make no mistake about it, right underneath those rangefinders, those little protrusions which stick out on the left and the right side of the turret, there's a really big ammo rack, like a really big ammo rack, like boom, pop goes the turret, big size ammo rack. It's really big, yeah. So what you will want to be doing with this tank is go hull down. And if you've been looking at the type of gameplay that Terminator was showing in the T29, that Panzer Division Blitzkrieg was showing in the T32, and that Walter is showing here, he's moving from one hull down position towards the next one. He's been keeping an eye on the minimap. He wants to make sure they're not getting flanked by a Waffle and the what was left, I think it was a P54. No, it was Patton, because there is a Patton. Hello, Patton. He wants to make sure they're not getting flanked, and the pattern is retreating, so you're not going to chase him uphill then, just peek around, go over it. He's not chasing the pattern, make no mistake about that. He's just going forward a little bit to make sure that he knows where the waffle is. And you can see he's not getting spotted. There is the WZ, there is the Conqueror as well. They are 2 tanks with turrets, and there's the waffle. That's what he wanted to know. And he's gonna go towards the next hold on position. Conqueror to the left, M103 right in this little depression over here. And this is the gameplay of American tanks. These tanks will teach you how to play hold down with good gun oppression, because they all have good gun oppression. This one, well, maybe not the best. It goes to -8, whereas on the T32 you would have -10. That takes some working around to. That was a bit of a nasty surprise for me when I got the M103 back in the days, because I was used to the -10, and then you go to -8. And then we have just that little thingy left about the gun, because you do get a full-blooded Tier 9 122mm gun. Is it then worth grinding the 122 mils gun M58? Yes, it is, but I would recommend you to not do it in the old-fashioned way. Just get the XP sorted to get the gun, while Walter is going to chase the last remaining enemy. There is the pattern. Hello, pattern. What I've actually done is just play the M103 in this configuration, fully upgraded, just like completely fully upgraded, but keep that mid gun, not the top gun. The top gun does not get you a lot of improvements. It gets a slightly better aim time, it gets slightly better dispersion, it gets better penetration on AP, but not on your heat shells. And this gun, the M58, has a slightly better DPM. But it's also quite big a stockpile of XP that you need, and you will get that gun straight away once you've unlocked this tank, the T125. And Deft98 is going to show us how to play the T125 while he gets shot through the drive wheel by the WZ113. But you can see he is again using the gun oppression. You can do this with American tanks, no problem whatsoever, no questions asked. You can sit on a ridge, poke around the corner, and if you have the T125 after you've been playing the M103, yes, I know that the thumbnail shows a cupola on top, and the T125 does not have a cupola in World of Tanks Blitz anymore. If you have this tank, you're looking at a tank which gets a really good gun, 258 in terms of penetration, 340 on heat. Well, that sounds very familiar. Yes, this is the gun that the M103 also gets, which it can fit, but if you grind this tank, unlock it, the M58 gun gets unlocked automatically on the M103, which saves you from grinding the XP and then having to grind all that XP again to get to T125. It's just, yeah, it's just a matter of time, basically. Right, there's one tank taken out, 1647 damage caused already, one shot blocked. It is a hull down tank, and there, pop goes the turret. It was a very useful HE shot on the WZ113 because he was low on health. And then his team is starting to think, right, we can push in now as well. And that's all well and good. Just hold the corner in the tank, use the gun oppression, which on the tank is pretty good. -8, not to -10, but luckily you've had the M103 sitting in between to help you get used to -8 instead of -10, which you got on the T29. And so the same things apply to this line that also apply to the E100 line. I've made that pretty clear. I think the E100 line is really consistent in the way the tanks play. And you can see this is -8 gun oppression. With the T29 he would have been able to get the shot on top of the AMX-50B, but yeah, that's what happens. He wants to get the kill, gets 4 kills, 2,549 damage dealt so far. But this line is pretty consistent as well. You have hull down tanks, you have a really overpowered T1 heavy at the moment. You have a, well, good M6. It is not as overpowered, as broken as the T1 heavy, but it is a good tank. And then you go towards the T29, towards the T32, and then the M103. They all teach you about gun oppression, about good mobility, not epic, decent, broken mobility, but it is a really consistent line. And if you can play the E100 line really good, then you can use this line to help you teach you about gun oppression, about hold down spots, and that's, I think, the two main things you need to know: how to use your armor and how to use mobility to go hold down as much as possible. Do I recommend you getting the T125 as quick as possible? Oh, no. Try to stay on the T29, play it in regular games as well. Make sure you get used to the tank before you start playing a higher tier. And may I recommend you to try get at least 50% win rate on a tank before you start moving up towards the next one? Yes, I may. That's it for today, ladies and gentlemen, tankers of Blitz Universe on the channel. My name is Martin Dogger. I'll catch you all on the next video. Cheers and happy tanking.